Morning glory, America. What a week. The sort of week when you run out of adjectives, the bad sort of adjectives, the kind that go with catastrophe. A little later in the program, I hope it can bring you some joy into the morning by a conversation with one of Hollywood's most liked people, Henry Winkler, who better than the Fonz to put some step into an exhausted country. But first, Texas. I do 15 hours of radio each week, friends, Monday through Friday from 6 to 9 a.m., just as the sun comes up over the storm-shattered and flooded southeast Texas. I spent almost every minute of my broadcast time this week on people of Houston and the surrounding cities, first responders, pastors, local officials, of course, electeds like Senator Ted Cruz, who calls Houston home, and Congressman Ken Brady, whose 8th congressional district had been submerged, 30 to 40% of it, literally, for a week. Two of those guests join me this morning. City Councilman Nick Long of League City, a community of about 100,000 south of Texas, close to the coast. He has done everything this week, from rescuing people in boats to caring for them in shelters to meeting as a city council. And the Attorney General of Texas, Ken Paxton, working to stop gouging and fraud throughout the Lone Star State. And it is indeed the vulnerability of the victims of this storm that concerns me this morning. Welcome to you both, and let me begin with you, Nick Long. Yesterday you told me something that's just stuck with me, that there are 30,000 homes in League City, 6,000 of them have 18 inches of water in them, and that 3,000 of those homes have 4 feet of water. What do you do to protect those people from being victimized a second time by scam artists and contractors, et cetera?
We've been lucky so far. The outpouring of support from the community has been great. We've been trying to go out in the community, make sure that people understand when they're hiring these contractors to hire local, get references, make sure that they don't pay these people up front, pay in installments. So far, we haven't heard much about it, but just yesterday when we were out kind of helping people clear out some of their homes, the new contractors from out of the area we're in and walking around and starting to try to drum up business. So it is definitely something people have to keep an eye out for.
Attorney General Paxton, now, League City's problem is multiplied 100 times over, small cities and large, from Houston all the way down to the coast. What's your office going to do, not only to prevent fraud in the contracting, but to make sure that the insurance companies are coming through with the checks in a hurry?
So we have a hotline, we have a website. People can keep us informed about what's going on. We deal with not only price gouging, which has significant penalties, and by the way, we've had over 1,000 complaints statewide, including in Dallas. But we'll be monitoring other things as well. We have consumer fraud division, so if there's some type of deceptive trade practice, we can pursue that as well. So all I would say is, if you're a consumer and you're dealing with a consumer fraud issue or a price gouging issue, take a picture, let us know, and we will investigate it.
Now, General Paxton, insurance companies are on the scene. They're working. There's some good ones. There's some not so good ones. Have you got a special unit that is just hammering the insurance companies to deliver and deliver quickly for those who did indeed have flood insurance?
So not so much. We are more about consumer fraud. But what I would tell people is make sure when they're dealing with contractors that they're dealing with a reputable contractor, to get the license number, that they potentially get a referral, that they don't necessarily deal with somebody that just shows up at their door, and make sure that you're not dropping down some large amount of money before your project is done.
Now, Nick Long, you kind of represent every small city in Texas right now. What's the hierarchy of needs? Are your shelters emptied out at this point? And what can people do to help people in cities like League City?
We still have a couple hundred people in the shelters in League City. We're working actually today to help find those people more permanent residences. FEMA has been pretty good to work with. The state's been great about trying to find these people resources, more permanent place. Right now, the big thing that we needed more than anything was bleach. Bleach and cleaning supplies. Just Walmart and H-E-B and Home Depot were completely sold out of that. They're set up some kind of makeshift donation areas in which people could pick those up. But right now, I'd say cleaning supplies are the biggest thing that we need.
Hadn't even thought of that. That's a small point, the kind of stuff that comes up when you talk about this. General Paxton, a lot of scam charities at work whenever there is a disaster. Thus, has it always been so? What are you doing about those people?
So, again, we have people ready to deal with it. We have a special group in our office that deals with charities, and we oversee charities actually for the state. So we're very comfortable dealing with charities, and we know the ones that are legit, the ones that are not. So I would encourage people, deal with the ones that we know are legit. I mean, we've got a lot of really legitimate charities on the ground, like Red Cross and Samaritan's Purse and Minuteman and others that you've heard of. So I'd say just be very careful about who you give to, and if it's somebody you've never heard of, just be very cautious.
And General, are you passionate about prosecuting people who do wrong by these victims? They've suffered enough. I'm really hoping that you and your team just bring the hammer down on all the fraudsters and the shysters who come in.
Yeah, look, we had people working all weekend. I had a great team come in that wanted to come in because they have a passion for protecting people that are in crisis. You know, the legislature's given us some really strong authority. We can pursue people for each occurrence of price gouging of up to $20,000, and if you price gouge somebody that's a senior citizen, it's up to $250,000 fine. And so, yeah, we immediately started issuing what are called CIDs, Consumer Investigative Demands. So we've already started investigating some of these. There's already been consequences. For instance, there was a hotel guy with Best Western that was charging 3 or 4 times the normal rate. Best Western has already revoked his Best Western franchise. So there have already been consequences, and there will be more in the future.
Now, Councilman Long, walk me, as you did on the radio show yesterday, through your week, which began in a boat and then ended up in a city council meeting, and what level of exhaustion you're running at, because you must be representative of every local official in Texas right now.
Yeah, I would think so. It was definitely a pretty exciting week. I started on Friday when the storm hit. It seemed for a while that the storm wasn't going to be that bad. I think everybody exhaled and felt pretty good about it. And then Saturday night, about midnight, when the storm started coming in and the water started rising, everybody started running around trying to do what they could to stop the water or secure their property. Sunday morning, the call went out from the city of League City and Galveston County and some of our other elected officials that the flooding was worse than we had thought, and they needed boats to go try to help bring people, out of their houses. Me and another buddy of mine tried to go help and got in there and started participating in that effort. From there, they started opening shelters around the city. The local United Methodist Church, Bay Harbor United Methodist Church, did a great job, took in the initial surge of about 500 people until they were simply overwhelmed. And then we started opening shelters around the city and city facilities, other churches, high schools, and that really started from there. And then every night the rain would come in again and more people would be displaced and people were displaced from other cities. So as quickly as we could find places for these people to spend the night and set these shelters up, they began to fill up even quicker. From there, we just spent the next couple days just reacting to that.
Let me just say, I'm so impressed with every single member of every single government in Texas. And the rule of law, General Paxton, 30 seconds, it's held up. It really has held up well in Texas across the entire disaster area.
It's been amazing. There's been amazing cooperation between the federal government with the Trump administration doing an amazing job in offering resources early. Governor Abbott has run a operation. Locals have done an amazing job. And we've also just had an amazing outpouring of people volunteering, people risking their lives to save other people. And so despite the stuff that I have to deal with, the price gouging and the fraud and some looting, we have more people that are doing good than we can even count. And we cannot measure the number of people that have been saved by volunteers.
Thank you. Thank you both. Thank you, Councilman Nick Long and Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton. Good luck to everyone down there in Texas. Before I go to break, I remind you the need is enormous in Texas. Find a charity, say Team Rubicon, that is actually doing cleanup work. Send some help. Team Rubicon, if you haven't heard of it, sends former members of the Army, Navy, Air Force, and Marine Corps who have left the service to join again as bands of brothers and sisters in disaster areas around the world. They came together after the earthquake in Haiti, and now they go wherever the bugle calls. TeamRubiconUSA.org for more details on their efforts in Texas. When I come back,